It was a race to see who can get the Christmas number one, which again, I think we've mentioned this in previous episodes. A Christmas number one in the UK is a big deal. So
we're kind of looking for the next Spice Girls.
Girl bands have always been quite big in the UK. You have the likes of Sugar Babes, the Saturdays. What was that Irish group called with Say You Will, Say You Won't?
Is it girl band?
Yeah, Say You Do What I Don't, Say You Will. So say la vie. It was an Irish group. I forget what they're called. So once they were formed, it was a race for the number one single. Girls Aloud took the number one over the boy band, which was One True
By
Voice.
far, yeah. Was it, or they were second and they were first or something?
Yeah, they were. The boy band came in second, which isn't bad.
No, it's amazing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Girls Aloud released a song called "Sound of the Underground,"
which aged really well.
Yes,
and it's before all the like electronic pop music.
"Sound of the Underground" has a sound that no one else really had at the time, and it kind of set their sound.
It was just a better single.
By far.
There's this one girl that doesn't make the band.
Javine.
We were so close to making Girls Aloud like one of the top selling band of all time in the UK, whether we like them or not, that's the truth. And then you were so close, but you didn't
you know
make
what it
it.
is.
It
and
really Sarah did. Come on.
See, I prefer that Sarah sort of she rounded them out in terms of like a rock aspect to them, but none of these record companies didn't expect them to last 10 years. They didn't expect them. It was a gimmick. The gimmick of the show. They have this big song. If they got anything out of a first record, that was it.
It's like the X Factor. It's a business model to push a certain amount of songs to number one.
Exactly.
That's what it is. And then you do TV and you do entertainment. But the business model in terms of music is to push a certain amount of songs
and
out.
They've been very vocal about that. Louis Walsh, who's a big time record producer or a music producer in the UK,
wasn't good.
He didn't do anything. Didn't do anything for them. He would take their money.
They didn't have a good deal to start with.
They didn't have a good deal, and they really had to Kimberly was, I guess, the mom of the group, and would have to sort of say, okay, we have to be here at this time. We all have to wear like white shirts and jeans.
Yeah, she'd coordinate everyone. Send schedules. She would call people. She would play manager. Yeah, but she's not getting paid anymore. No.
And it really was. They had a big start, but then after that first record and after that first single, it was kind of like they were an independent act, sort of working their way back up to the success that they will eventually
Which I think
get.
is healthy. Like, sure, they had like a big break, they had a big push, there was a lot of marketing putting into that, a lot of publicity for them, but at some point they were on their own, and the only thing that push them to become successful is themselves and their will to become a successful act, and that in itself, I think in perspective, was probably very healthy for all of them. You know, for all of them and for the group itself.
Yeah, that's what I find about like people that don't really know them or don't really like them, is they don't understand that everyone knows them. They had a big start, but they don't realize that all these girls had to work hard to get where they are, because nothing was guaranteed to them.
And especially, look, we're not like snobs here, right? Like, we love any type of music. We acknowledge talent, even though we don't necessarily like a certain artist's music or not. But what we have to say is, although we love them, they're not the best vocalists. They're not the best dancers. I mean, Cheryl is an amazing dancer, but let's talk about like the group in general, right? They're not the best vocalists. They're not the best dancers. The reality is you have to give a lot more if you're not Beyonce, or if you're not, do you know what I mean? And the Spice Girls did the same. Are they the most talented vocalists? No, they sound good, but you have to give something else, and I think Girls Aloud did that as well.
There's an X factor, no pun intended.
But exactly.
Yes. Also, with this whole sort of them sort of working their way up, of why a lot of people see them as trashy is because, after their gig and whatnot, they'd still stay and have fun. So they didn't have a management team sort of saying, we're locking you down, you do this, this, and this, and this.
Exactly,
no, they were doing it from themselves. So, of course, you're going to see them falling out of clubs and out of taxis.
They're 18, 19, they're 18. Like, come on.
Exactly. And doing and saying weird shit. They didn't have any sort of media training.
No.
So, now looking back at all these old interviews, it's fun to hear them, because they are young people, like, I guess, like I was, that like thought exactly the same thing. And it's just funny to see them sort of like figure out the music industry. So off of the Sound of the Underground, they released Sound of the Underground, No Good Advice, Life Got Cold, which is written and produced by a production company called Xenomania. And this is important because Xenomania and Brian Higgins is almost like a sixth member of Girls Aloud. He has produced everything.
Yeah.
And written everything. So also really well known for one of the biggest songs in the 90s from a little known artist named Cher and Believe. Believe is a Xenomania production.
Some of their production is really good. Some of the production is really, I don't want to say bad, but lazy. That's the right word.
Okay.
And I think they were in the wagon where they had to push a lot of music out real quick.
Yeah.
And the singles are always, for most part, really well produced, but sometimes other songs on their albums, they're not as tight or as well produced.
They were generally seen as album tracks.
Yeah, so I think they put a lot of money into like producing good songs, good singles to push the album, but objectively and looking back, some of these songs are not really well produced. And I would assume, because they released a lot of albums, making girl band albums is really, really long because everyone needs to come and record. They are all singing on the album, right? It might be like laziness in terms, or it might be a lack of time to produce the album.
True. They have with Girls Aloud, they have had 5 albums, and each one was released pretty much year after year. 2003, 2004, 2005, 2007, and then 2008. So it really is a busy year for them. The first album is called Sound of the Underground. It was number 2 in the UK. It was released in May of 2003. I would say the album is pretty shit. It's not like the best album. I will say the singles are what stands out. In 2004, they released their second album called What Will the Neighbors Say, which I think has more like iconic Girls Aloud songs on it. The first single was The Show, which is it's very chavvy. So it's not the best pop song, but it's very fun.
Yeah, I think their biggest success is from that album as well. I think Love Machine is their biggest success in career.
Love Machine is probably what they're most known for.
Yeah, exactly.
But they released I'll Stand By You. They're not they're big fans of covers, and they did I'll Stand By You.
Yeah, but they were slammed for that cover.
Yeah, they were always.
But no one escapes the British press. That's the thing. No one does. But Love Machine, they didn't want to sing that song.
No, they hate that song.
But it is a stupid song.
Oh my god, it makes no sense.
Like doom, 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 doom.
But it's such a fun song.
It is a stupid song for the British people. Like they were saying in a documentary we were watching, like it didn't sound like anything we knew. Like it sounded so weird. And the lyrics, like was it
Let's Go Eskimo. Yeah.
Right. So like and even like the dress they were wearing,
like the video,
it's
everything,
weird and stuff, but
they were embarrassed by the song. They pleaded with the record company not to,
and the record company told them you would be wrong not to take that song, and so they did it, and turned out it was a massive hit.
It's probably what they're most known for. Perhaps, again, it's one of these songs where like I've been to a couple weddings where this song comes on and it really just like gets the crowd going. It is a fun song. Also, the Arctic Monkeys covered the song.
Really?
Yep.
I didn't know that.
And so a lot of people like to say, oh well, Arctic Monkeys, who I guess are like a band that's seen as like, credible musically or whatever, they've covered this song. They do it live every so often on their tours. No one else had this sound.
Yeah, absolutely. And we were talking about that sound earlier. If you think about Destiny's Child, right, they all have like a segment of the song, and normally Beyonce would sing the chorus, or like first verse, chorus, like you hear Beyonce a little more, and then you have Kelly, and then you have Michelle doing the bridge, and then all together, right?
Formula.
Yeah, it was a formula. In Girls Aloud, there was no such thing as a formula. I think on the chorus we'd hear a bit more Nadine, right?
It's also Nadine is sort of regarded as the one that has probably the best voice out of all of them.
I think she's good for a girl band. I don't think she's Beyonce good or Celine good, right?
Her voice does kind of get a little annoying.
Exactly. She's good in Girls Aloud. Exactly. I don't really like her outside, but we're going to talk about their solo career in a later episode. But all of that to say, they have no structure. Nicola could sing 2 words, and then Cheryl and Nadine are gonna do 4 more words, and then whoever else is gonna come in, and then Sarah's gonna do like it's all over the place, and sometimes it's hard. Like if you don't know them well, it's hard to know who's singing what. There's no set structure. Anything.
Well that's the genius behind Xenomania, because Xenomania sometimes did have full songs, but sometimes they didn't. They just had this part of this song, this part of that song, and they just sort of mash these.
They
like,
didn't know what to do with
verses
it. Yeah.